Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Elise. Welcome, Connor, to this very Halloween edition of the Low Brass U Live. This will actually have nothing to do with Halloween, but YouTube forces me to put a title, and I don't really know what to put every time. What type of costumeless Halloween edition is this? I don't know. I got a vest on. I feel like isn't that enough? I've never actually been that into Halloween. I stopped trick-or-treating when I was like in elementary school. But Connor, I hope you're well. I'll send that email that I didn't send, that I said I would send. I promise. Actually, I don't promise, but I will. But hope everyone's doing okay. I was just teaching a lesson and working on the Barat Andante and Allegro. Or sorry, Introduction and Dance. Andante Allegro is the trombone one. I can never get the title straight. But yeah, so I was working on that, and I just thought I might come on here and play some of it. Might play some other stuff too. And hopefully my internet will do better than the last couple of streams. That's another thing that I'm trying to test out. Han Solo costume, yeah. I think this is Han enough, right? I shot first, or did I shoot second? Depends on who you ask. Oh, those are your solo for 10th grade? Awesome. It's such a great little piece. I don't know. I really like this piece. I actually didn't play it when I was younger. I kind of wish that I had. I've kind of had to play it since then, but it's still a great piece regardless. Have you ever played Time After Time by J.J. Johnson? No, I haven't. I haven't really played that tune. No, it's a great one though. He took a great solo on that. You're on the second page. I am on the second page. Now I'm getting to the bottom of it, onto the third. Whenever I'm thinking about this piece, I always refer to the top of the third page thinking that it's the bottom of the second where the meno mosso section is, and I'm always wrong. That's okay. You sound really good. Thank you. Keep going here, but keep the questions or comments coming. Also, please let me know if you notice any like dips in internet quality or something, because I had issues the last couple of streams, but it was storming in my area, so I think that's part of it. Yeah, I think this is such a nice piece. And if you're familiar with the piece, Luis, you might know that the way I ended it was not what's on the page, where I added those two notes at the end, bum bum, and that's what a lot of people like to do, and I think it sounds great. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, Bharat, you wrote a great piece. You missed one thing though, and that's those last two notes there at the end. I really don't like changing things that composers wrote, but that one little thing just to me is just really nice to add, and just because that's what the piano does. And even if it's a nice big, concert grand piano, it's nice to have a little help from the tube on that last note. Let's see. Berlioz. How's he on tube, man? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's do some Berlioz. I assume you specifically mean Symphony Fantastique, since witches. Although there are other all the Berlioz tuba excerpts are so great. There are so many that are like, like the Corsair and things that people kind of forget about that are just, or King Lear. That's another one. All of those are just really nice. Do you talk like, what does it say? Oh, do I talk Spanish? Do I speak Spanish? Very minimally. I'm the classic example of someone who, studied Spanish in school, like in high school and middle school. I definitely would not say I'm proficient, and I know a few words and things. Let's see, I'm loading up Symphony Fantastique. Let's just jump right into the last page. Square 84. Will I go all the way up to the high B flat? Phones. Sorry, I think I accidentally played something, but. All right. I'm sure the conductor would love it if I tagged that final chord there. That's really what it should be. There's just, C major tag in the tuba part. Yes, and definitely subscribe. Go like the video and subscribe. Yeah, I appreciate all the love. I mean, we got 4 viewers on here. I know that that's definitely not, YouTube record-breaking numbers or anything, but it's nice to see consistent people on here. I assume that means that you don't hate the content. So that's always nice. But yeah, Symphony Fantastique is such a great one. Going up to that high B flat is definitely not necessary or even really recommended. It's funny, that high B flat, it's definitely a thing that I feel comfortable doing. And the 2 times I played the piece, I've done it both times, and I've never done it in an audition. And, I have teachers who, I guess I would say my teachers, well, you weren't allowed to. Your first mistake was that you asked. But yeah, I mean, I have one teacher that's always told me that I should do that in auditions because he knows that I am capable, and I, almost certainly won't miss it in an audition setting. But I don't like it just because I feel like to somebody that might be like either showboating or they might say it's not written that way. Why would you do that? So I tend to take it down the octave, but I'm fully prepared if someone asks specifically for me to take it up. But maybe that's why I've never won, but probably not. But do you ever get frustrated at music? Yeah, sometimes. I try not to let it get the better of me. It definitely can happen. And sometimes that's just a good reason to, put the instrument down and come back the next day. I think about a lot of practicing and playing music it's a long-term thing. There's nothing you're going to do one single day that's going to really move the needle. It's about making progress over time. So if you're frustrated today, there's no sense in continually getting frustrated and getting so frustrated that maybe you don't want to do it anymore. Maybe just take a little bit of a break. Is that the best thing to do, during all state auditions right last week or something, but maybe not. But for the most part, if I'm frustrated, if I don't feel like playing, I often don't. The good news is I often feel like playing. Let's see here. Let's do some more Berlioz. I'm not going to try to pronounce this in French, but when is all region? That's not a question for me. Also, that varies drastically by every single region, of which there are plenty. The Corsair. Yep, that's what did I say that, or did you just guess? I can't remember if I said it. But I'm not going to say it in French because my French accent is pretty terrible. Let's see. Yeah, so I get the B flat today, but I guess I can't consistently hit the A flat. But yeah, that's a fun one too. Let's see here. Let's do some Wagner on the big tuba. Yeah, it's an A flat in the Corsair, which honestly isn't more friendly. I might go back and forth between playing that second valve or 2 and 3 on F tuba, and I don't know which one is right for that instrument sometimes. I think I have more success with the 2 and 3, but I don't know. Should probably play a couple notes on C tuba before I do this. I've mostly only played F today. Yeah, so yeah, Wagner bringing out the big boy. Yep, how's it going? Puff is jiggly, and Mr. Anonymous back at it. Euphonium. Yeah, the Dragon Soul, it's great. I've talked about it on stream before, but essentially that's the scene in Das Rheingold where the dragon is like coming out of its lair, and it's usually like this really massive sort of thing that people people do. So the Dragon Soul, it's really fun when you're also with the Wagner Tuban. They're down or up an octave from you, which if you're playing with the Wagner Tuban, that means that it won't be in tune with them, because that's just how it works. It could be, but usually Wagner Tuban means crazy pitch issues in my experience. But yeah, it's a really fun. I mean, the whole opera is great. And there's some really nice bass trumpet stuff in it and contrabass trombone stuff in it. Unfortunately, neither of those I've played any. I've never played. Well, I've never played the opera in general, but yeah, it's a really fun piece. That Dragon Solo is it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it too. It starts out with this lento, and I kind of think about it as being in an 8, but maybe not the slowest 8 in the world. And then that poco animato, I really start to give it some gas. And to me, this is actually one of the etudes that if I had just like a massive B flat tuba, I would love to play this on B flat, because it almost seems like, that it's the right sound. Like it almost is breaking just a little bit. It's like a little bit more reckless, kind of like how I would think a dragon would be, if that makes sense. It's just kind of the difference in just even a step of tuba, can make a difference. So, how's it going, Zach? Did I miss anything good? You missed all the best stuff, Brady. Let's see. Oh, I know a good one that I haven't played on stream. Let's see if anyone recognizes this. This is a good one. I think people practice it less because it's not public domain. But anyway. Yeah, yeah, Symphonic Metamorphosis. That's always a fun one. Another one that I actually prefer to play on B flat. Not that you can't play it on F, but it's just like, to me, so much of like big German and Russian music is just like B flat. It's the right thing. But yeah, I'm glad I could play that for you. Let's see. When I went to Germany and tried all the B flat tubas there, Meinl Weston had some big ones. The Falsat has a 20-inch bell. Yeah, there are some big ones. There's so many big B flats out these days, and I would love to own all of them. And I would like almost never use them. That's the thing. It's like, like one that I really like is the Hagen made by Miraphone, and that one is just like, I can't remember exactly how expensive it is, but I think it's like 17 grand or something like that. And it's like, to be a tuba that has, I mean, I could use it for other things, but most cases this would be a better instrument, and then only those rare cases would that be better. And even with this one, in some ways this is almost built kind of like a big B flat. Tuman, you talked about that Falsat having a 20-inch bell. This actually has a 20.5-inch bell. Any gigs? I actually have one tomorrow, an outdoor thing. So we'll see how that goes, especially because it's been kind of cold here in North Texas. But yeah, I have one tomorrow, and then next month seems a little bit more normal. But yeah, hopefully it'll continue in that. I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely torn. I don't think people should be having large gatherings. I would not be having a large gathering, but I also would like the income. So it's a little bit of a not great situation, but we will persevere nonetheless. I'm trying to think of another one to play. Let's just do Prokofiev 5. I think I might have played that on like an earlier stream when I was testing things out, but I think it's been a while. Favorite composer? Yeah, Prokofiev who's written some great stuff. Great piano concerto. Other great symphonies, other than the one that we always think about as tuba players. Your favorite thing about online school is that you can practice in between classes? Yeah, that's not a bad reason. I definitely would have killed for that. Must be nice. Yeah, our school director refuses to close schools. Yeah, we could go into that, but we probably shouldn't. We'll keep it about mostly tuba things. But yeah. So someone said was it the third trombone etude? What number is that from the Blazevich book? Just so I don't have to look it up. But yeah, those. Oh, you maybe couldn't hear me. What number from the Blazevich book is the All-State Etude? Ronan, if you're still there. Which book is this from? What I just played? What I just played was an excerpt from Prokofiev's Fifth Symphony, number 11, you believe. Yeah, I just can't remember which ones all of those etudes were. Let's see, number 11. The D minor one. I'm glad you asked me to play one that I can probably play pretty well without having practiced it in a bit. That E flat major one is not anyone's friend, I don't think. It wasn't my friend practicing it, but I did it for the good of mankind. All right, let's see here. This is a little bit of that number 11. Let's see. Yeah, I think my YouTube video is still a little bit better than that playing just now. I don't really think I practiced it since then much. Generally speaking, those videos, it's like that's it. Like I record them when I'm like in peak in practicing of it. So you suggest you experiment with planning where you breathe, something I do frequently. Yeah, especially with that etude, I definitely could plan out that better. Again, I've worked on that and I had those plans, but that's definitely like just looking at it and seeing how it goes. But yeah, planning your breath is definitely a good thing on any low brass instrument, especially when you're playing tuba etudes on bass trombone. Flashback to when it was a tuba all-state etude, yeah. Let's see. What do you think about the euphonium year this year? Difficult? Everyone wants to worry about if they're hard or easy, and it's like, at the end of the day, they are what they are. So I don't know. I don't know what there is to do about it. If you think it's too hard, if you think it's too easy. I don't know. They're the exact things that I would have picked. I'm of the mindset that bass trombone and tuba are different instruments. And I think that choosing, not necessarily choosing from a tuba book, but choosing some of these etudes makes it where you're not really honoring that. And it's not that the bass trombone can't play some of this stuff, but it's kind of, to me, it's harder than it needs to be in some cases for bass. Oh, sorry, you asked about euphonium. I was thinking bass trombone for some reason. But yeah, euphonium, sorry, yeah, totally didn't answer your question. Euphonium, I think the etudes are pretty reasonable. I think the third one is pretty challenging. I really had to work on that one. A lot of slow practice. And, it's not always that like there's a direct correlation to how hard I have to work on it to how hard a student has to work on it. But in general, if it takes me a pretty good amount of time, it's maybe on the harder side for that. But yeah, I think that they're reasonable. I think the first two are pretty reasonable. I would maybe take the C major a little bit slower. Let's see. This etude makes me happy though that I only do bass trombone for all state jazz. Yeah. Yeah, they're not the easiest. Yeah, the C major, I honestly think the E minor one for euphonium is harder than the C major one, the first etude. But I just think the first etude it's really just faster than it needs to be. But the etude's a shot for your freshman self. I mean, just take it slowly. I know they have the tempos that are online, and maybe you don't make first chair in all state by playing it under tempo, but there's definitely some room for that, for taking the tempo down. It still can be good. Well, I'm a trombone. I've just heard it before, and it looks hard. Yeah, I mean, Texas generally picks harder etudes than a lot of other states. Can I play the euphonium etudes live? Yeah, I can play them. They probably won't be as good as the videos because I haven't practiced them since the videos, but I'm definitely capable of playing the etudes. Let's see. High schoolers just play so perfectly. A lot of slow practice will make you improve. Yeah, if you've been watching these streams, you know that's one of the things I'm always preaching is just practice it slowly. You don't need to go full tempo. Let's see. Down in Texas, have you guys done the auditions yet? I think that pretty soon the region auditions will start. I don't really know. I mean, I talk to my students about it, but I think we're still a couple weeks out for most of them. When you play it faster after tons of practice, it'll be easier. Totally. They're coming very soon. Texas also has a lot more people to review. Yeah, we do auditions in a month. In 2 weeks, the auditions start now, 7 to 11. November 7 to 11. All region is November 14th, 18th. Yeah, it's all soon for sure. But yeah, I'll play one of the all region etudes. Here, let's see. Oop. Let's see, what did I? Let's see if this is the right document. Tennessee, probably not too many people here do, but maybe they do. You do the third one. You're in the wrong place. You're not in the wrong place. I just, I live in Texas and I post the Texas etudes. And honestly, even if I didn't live in Texas, I'd probably post those. Everyone wants me to do them all from every state. And in a perfect world, I would, but I don't think people realize that I can't just sight read these etudes and play them. I wish I was that good. But to do them well, I have to practice them just like everybody else. So to do that, it would take a long time for every single state. Like really, and also, it's not just even practicing too. It's also all of that video editing. That takes a long time too. Sorry, I'm struggling to find. Let's see, is it in? I can't remember if those etudes are in the trombone book also. Let's see here. For some reason, I can't find the Selected Studies baritone book. Oh, but it's in the trombone book anyway. That's probably why I didn't bother. Yeah, they really take a lot of time. I mean, and also the other thing too, it's some of the etudes I can play pretty well without too much practice. But there's a difference between playing well and playing the way you want to play it too. You know, it takes me mental thought to think about, okay, should I put a crescendo here? Should I put a decrescendo here? You know, how do I want to, you know, what style do I want to play this in? Or, you know, how heavy should these accents be? It takes, you know, I mean, getting the notes is not enough in my opinion. I'm trying to do more than that. So hopefully that comes across. But yeah, here's the E minor one. Let me get another zoom in on this one. This one probably of all the etudes took me the longest amount of time, and I haven't looked back. So I can guarantee you there will be some mistakes. Well, maybe I should bet on myself, but there'll probably be a few mistakes. Yeah, so if you wanted to know how long it's been since I've worked on that, probably look at the date that video was posted and go back a few days, because it probably took me a few days to edit it. But yeah, you know, interpretation is just as important, if not more important. You know, I think that the notes are, I mean, they're somewhat of a given, especially, you know, at the professional level. That's kind of the, you know, the thing. So, yeah, that valve stick. I know I swear I've oiled it 3 days in a row. I oiled it today, I oiled it yesterday, and I oiled it the day before. And I've never really had issues with this valve, but maybe it's time for a cleaning or something. But yeah, it's definitely been kind of frustrating, to say the least, because I definitely preach having really well-maintained instruments. This is one of those things where it's just like, you know what wouldn't do that? A rotor valve. But can I do the B flat minor one on trombone next? You know, I'm just the Allstate jukebox to you guys, aren't I? Maybe I'll do it in a second. I can't remember how that one even goes. I literally did about 30 of these Allstate etudes. So forgive me if I forget a little bit of which one's which. But yeah, especially when playing audition scales, I have friends who have missed out on auditions because they didn't play with dynamic contrast. Yeah, those are the sorts of things that, to me, they really matter. You know, how was Northwestern? Did you study with Rex or with Gene? So I was the last person that Rex Martin graduated. I was the only person that graduated that year, and I was there right before he left this country. So so yeah, I enjoyed my time there. It had different goods or different pros and different cons in going to North Texas for me. I really liked, the facilities were beautiful. It's right on Lake Michigan. It couldn't be more beautiful. There are lots of really great things about there. I love studying with Rex Martin. I didn't study with Gene at all, so I can't really talk about that. I mean, I've dealt with him a couple of times in the real world, but seems like a nice guy and everything, but I haven't actually taken a lesson with him. But yeah, it was a great experience. A lot of good players, a lot of great brass players overall around, which was really nice. There were a lot of great brass players when I was at North Texas as well. But especially like the horns, I feel like some of the horn players were the best brass players at that school, which is like crazy to think about because it's like, we always think about horn players being the one missing notes. And I felt like when I'd play with some of the horn players, I was like, oh, I got to get my stuff together. But jukebox me, thank you. Give a tuba a bath is an experience. Yeah, I might be due for that. You have the hardest time with the B flat one. Yeah, I want to say yes, but I just don't remember which one that is. Let me pull it up because I've already got the book up. I just don't want to say yes, I'll do this etude and then remember it's like, oh, that's that really hard one that I can't play. Oh, that one. I can probably play that one. But let's see. I'll answer a few more questions first or comments. Any advice for getting out of stuck mouthpiece? They make mouthpiece pullers. I would just take it to a professional. I can tell you some things to do, but I don't even want to do that because I don't want you to damage the instrument and say that I told you to do it. So I would just take it to a professional. Most of the time, if you take it to a repair shop, they'll do it for free. So let's see. Do you give your instruments a bath? If so, any tips? I do sometimes, not with my tubas really. I don't have a big enough tub. I one day, want to have like a gigantic tub to do that. I do with the trombones more often. I generally take my tubas to professionals to get ultrasonic cleanings. But yeah, you just leave it there in some lukewarm water, not too hot, and just let it sit there, let it get kind of everything out, and then just kind of, essentially you want it to loosen. It's just like soaking some dishes or something. You soak the dishes in the sink, and then the stuff gets loose, and then you can scrape it off. So it's kind of the same thing we're doing. Mac, just try harder. Yeah. It's probably, I know I have the tendency, especially on these valves, to, start to creep in a little bit. And, I'm the teacher that always is really on my students about that. But, nobody's perfect. I do a trick I do an exercise that's really helpful, and I make my students do it, and they hate it, but it's fine. And what I do is I put coins on top of the valve. So in between your fingers and the valves are coins. And so the moment that your fingers lift off, you slide forward, those coins drop to the ground. You have to pick them up and try it again. So that's one of the interesting things. Do you have a mouthpiece puller? No, I actually don't have a mouthpiece puller. It's one of those things I probably should have, just being a teacher, but I don't. I've never, knock on wood, gotten my mouthpiece stuck. I've had some scares, but I've never actually gotten it stuck. I don't think. Maybe I have. If so, I just took it to a repair shop really quickly, and it wasn't a big deal. I don't remember it. But yeah, the water, the water being too hot, people say that it's going to damage it. Yes, it's not necessarily the best thing, but probably what's going to happen is not that it's like really going to damage it, but it will. I guess it does damage the finish of it a little bit. But the finish is, to me, the finish is only for looks. In the case of like a lacquer, I prefer to have instruments unlacquered. So let's see. Lightly, you don't want it to be like hot to the touch. Yeah, depending on the type of lacquer, there are multiple types of lacquer. Like the lacquer that's on my C tuba here, that's a different type of epoxy lacquer that won't. It's a little bit sturdier, and it probably won't go away with hot water. But the reality of it is, water will eventually go through anything if you give it enough time. So I just want to kind of be careful. Do I have a clarinet? Nope. I can barely make a sound on clarinet. Can I play a song on trombone? Yeah, I'm about to play one of the all-state etudes for the state of Texas that was requested. You got yours stuck twice in your school euphonium. Yeah, it happens. Just got to be careful about it. Also doing all these things that I'm playing, it's just like, oh, play this instrument, play this instrument. It's like, yeah, that's definitely not my best way to play, like $1 million is to swap instruments every 2 seconds. But for the internet, especially I think this is 20 is the highest that we've gotten on a live stream. So, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So, all right, let me change mics and then I'll play it. Yeah, not a perfect one, but not a perfect run of that. But again, I haven't looked at these in months since they were, I was working on those recordings, and those recordings really did take me a while. But do you have any tips for the number 40? The simplest thing with that one is you just really have to go so slowly, and really planning out your breaths is helpful for that one. To me, there's kind of simple and complex. Those are opposites to me. And then there's especially in regards to technique or technical challenges, there's hard and easy. And those aren't necessarily the same thing. So basically what I would say with that number 40 etude is it's technically challenging, but it's not necessarily complex. It's really just scalar stuff for the most part, scales and arpeggios, and it's a lot of just kind of really slowly going through all of that. That's the biggest thing that I would do. The Halloween theme brought everybody in. Is that really what did it? I've got 2 more days to do that. I even thought about going into Photoshop and changing my logo so it'd be orange and black, and then I realized that would take me longer than 10 minutes, and I didn't do it. Let's see. Brass repair professional, what was that in reference to? I don't know if that's in reference. I guess that's in getting the mouthpiece pulled. Said leaving here. Oh, there's rarely a brass. I see. Yeah, that's definitely difficult. I didn't think about that sort of angle of it. So in that case, if you don't have a repair tech available to you, there are a couple things you can do. Heat will help, and potentially a little bit of, if you don't have, I would order a mouthpiece puller. That's probably the simplest thing. Order a mouthpiece puller on Amazon or wherever, and they're not super cheap, but they're not the most expensive thing either. So I would get one of those, and that'll solve the problem. If that's not an option, or it's astronomically expensive, heating it up a little bit with a heat gun or something that can, be careful with that, obviously, but heat might be able to kind of separate them. And then the other thing that you can do, which I would hit the mouthpiece, not the instrument. I have a rawhide mallet, and rawhide is basically what you want to use. If you hit the top of the mouthpiece, yes, it's probably not great for the mouthpiece, but it might knock it loose. So let's see. Still better than You Can Play It. Thanks for playing it. Yeah, I mean, just go slowly with that one. I probably should have even played it slower now, knowing that I haven't. I kind of like got into it. And I was like, oh, there's some stuff later on in this that I'm going to screw up because of this tempo. But yeah, I mean, I worked on that one slowly a lot. Especially da 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 da. All those sorts of things. And I'd also look at what slide positions I used. I used some kind of I played some Fs and six and things like that. That kind of helped me. Let's see. Only know one guy-ish. Another one repair tech. Yeah, I mean, you can do it yourself. It's just be careful and don't do anything too crazy. You can also get like one of those rubber, like I think people used to use them for like opening jars and things, like something like that to get a better grip on it might help. Let's see. You're asking if you're playing it right now. I'm lost. The comments are going too quickly now. I can't get through them all. I don't know what you're talking about if they're Ronin. I think you're talking about A2 number 40. I know you're not playing this right now, but recording starts for a few days for all state auditions. Any Tuba A2 58, that is the B flat minor one, right? I think that the tempo that they requested is too fast. I did play it in that range on my video, and I did it because I know that the moment I go even one click slower, someone's going to comment and just like, there'll just be so much negativity in the comments. And I honestly think I would have sounded better if I would have gone slower. It's possible to play it at that tempo, but I'm not sure that it's possible. It's probably still possible, but it's much more difficult to play it musically. So I would play it slowly. Some people have different opinions on if the quarter notes should be long or short. I think playing them short is easier, and I also like the sound. So that's my take on it. But yeah, just a lot of slow practice, going up and down some of those scale runs. They're not that difficult. They're just in B flat minor, and you probably haven't spent a lot of time in B flat minor, and you're being exposed for it with that etude. So what's your opinions on Wessex line of tubas, C tubas especially? Is there any quality issues? You guys love just painting me or putting me in a corner, trying to get me to say negative things about companies. I've thought about doing some videos that's like, let's break down every single, manufacturer and talk about them, or like what tuba should you buy? Clickbait YouTube title, something like that. But it's tricky to talk about all those things, especially because I have a mouthpiece. I'm an artist for a mouthpiece company, but not an instrument company. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind being an artist for an instrument company. So I don't want to get caught saying something that's negative, but I also don't want to lie to you guys. But yeah, I mean, I've had, the first thing I'll preface this with is I've had students with nearly every make and model have some issues with their instruments. So you can't necessarily single out a brand. Obviously, it's a numbers game. Are you more likely to have an issue with this instrument or not? And the instruments made in the Jinbao factory, like my Mac Brass or the Wessex instruments, they're not maybe the people who've been doing it for 50 years, like in some of the German factories or Swiss factories. So, that's a little bit of that's a little bit to it. But I played some that were really nice and played really well. And I've had some students with some that I struggled to, some of the tolerances were a little bit off and things. In general, I always prefer to buy used, and I prefer to buy, my goal with buying a tuba especially is, let's say, things got worse in my life financially and I needed to sell the instrument, which obviously I hope that never happens. I would like to get the money that I paid for it back. You go buy a new Wessex, that won't happen. And there aren't as many used ones on the market, and most of them aren't old enough where either they're damaged because someone was careless, or potentially they're they're not necessarily they're not old enough where someone's going to want a lot of money for them. So but yeah, so that's they make some good instruments. I'd probably look more used and see what you can find, especially on Facebook Marketplace. Let's see. Colin, welcome. Yeah, I'm getting a little lost in the chat. If not, put heat to it. I think we're talking about mouthpiece. Yeah, that'll help. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massages here. Yeah, I remember those videos. Yeah, Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. Let's see. Hey, Michael, how's it going? You've been doing. I've been doing good with my 1 and 2 etudes, but I'm struggling quite with the third for tuba, especially the first 4 measures. A lot of slow practice. Another thing that I do with those etudes is I take out the low Fs. I play them up an octave. So instead of F, B flat, F, D flat, F, B flat, F, D flat, I change that so I can kind of get through it a little bit. I mean, a lot of, in that big run in there, it's just you got to practice it slowly. Everyone who can play that sort of etude well, or maybe I shouldn't say everybody, there are some freaks of nature, but for the most part, people who can play that etude well either did a ton of slow practice on that etude specifically, or have in the past practiced B flat minor a lot. And that's what I've done. I did have to practice it slowly for this specific etude, but I've gone up and down B flat minor for years, and that's what helped me. So, start with playing the scale up and down a few times, isolate these little sections, and just go the tempo that sounds good. Don't be so preoccupied with exactly what everybody, thinks, or what's printed on the website. That's my opinion. Will that get you first chair? Maybe not. But again, All-State is great. It's not everything. You lose if you don't make it All-State or whatever. Your life's not over. It's a good thing to do, and I don't want to belittle it. I don't want to say it's a bad thing or anything like that. If you make All-State, that's awesome. Good for you. I'm glad you practiced. You worked hard. You got the thing you wanted. But if you didn't, that doesn't mean you won't have a career in music. There are tons of people I know that never made All-State and won big jobs at some point in their life. So, it's just kind of part of it. So, let's see. What have you missed? You missed everything. Two man's correct. We do like doing that. Clickbait is the way to go. Yeah, it's so tricky because it's like I want to stay away from clickbait because I want this channel to be better than that. But like at the end of the day, it's like, so you don't want to succeed, like because clickbait is what succeeds. So I might try doing something kind of in the middle where it's like the statement on the picture or whatever isn't false or anything. Like I'm not going to be like, and this tuba caught fire as soon as I started playing fast, but something along the lines of some sort of sensationalized title or something like that. But Planet Pizza, good Toy Story reference. Got to agree, my B-flat single horn is Chinese made, but it does the job, plays the notes that I want. Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, this Mac Brass is made in the same factory as the Wessex Instruments, and this instrument, I was able to compete and win one euphonium competition and get second in another euphonium competition. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to say, this isn't a professional instrument. This isn't as good. Well, it worked. So, and when people hear me play it and when people play it, most of the time they're not like, oh, that instrument's terrible. They're just like, yeah, you sound good. They don't worry about it. So obviously in a perfect world, I'd spend 10 grand on a euphonium and it'd be awesome. But 10 grand, I wouldn't have made that money back. Whereas this $1,000 euphonium has, made its money back many times. Maybe not many, a few. The chat has changed to meme mode. It's definitely true. Barbecue foot massage. Meme mode has turned off. That's 3. My bad, 3 words. The regulars are just memeing, and that's the new people legit asking questions. Yeah. Better barbecued foot massage. What? You're learning that All-State isn't such a big deal has made me so much more carefree and definitely improved my practicing. Yeah, and I guess so. Yeah, you're right. Halloween edition, but I feel like this is a live stream. I feel like that's like, that's fine. But yeah, you're right. I did do a clickbait thing. This has nothing to do with Halloween. The best I can say is I'm wearing a vest, so maybe I'm Han Solo, but that's about the best I can claim. But yeah, so yeah, learning that All-State isn't everything. It's not everything. Here's what I'll say. I didn't grow up in Texas, so I couldn't do All-State in Texas. Who knows what that would have been? To me, I don't really care what could have been in the state that I I lived in, which was Kentucky. I made All-State all 4 years. Does anyone ever ask me that on a gig? Does anyone ever ask, maybe when I was going into my undergrad, that was on my resume and was a good thing, but people don't know if the music scene is good in Kentucky or not. So at the end of the day, it was a good thing, and it shows that you probably at least practiced and worked hard, and that's important. That's really what is important about All-State, is that you work hard, and that's what you get better by working hard. And maybe you don't get a trophy at the end of it, but it's about working hard, not about the result as much. What did Miley Cyrus say? It's the climb. On the verge of clickbait. Yeah, I know the Halloween edition wasn't fair. I did play Symphony Fantastique. It's about witches, being burned at the stake. That's something. How do I focus in the practice room? It's a good question. I'm not always the perfectly, the most focused person, as you can probably tell by these live streams. I'm jumping around, playing different instruments, all that sort of stuff. But I just try to set small goals, and I really practice in small chunks. Maybe if I were smarter, if my brain could focus on a task for longer, I would practice longer sessions. But I try to keep it to like 25, 30, maybe 35 focus minutes. Sometimes that's a luxury you don't have. You have an hour, you need to use this whole hour. But a lot of times what I'll do is in the morning I'll start making coffee, play some stuff, and then drink some coffee, go do something else, listen to a podcast, whatever, then go back to practicing. Like my perfect day of not having to actually work or do anything is very much like, okay, I go, I practice for 25 minutes. I watch some, 20-minute YouTube videos about, like computer networking that I don't really need to watch, but I do anyway. I just watch something and then I was like, okay, now I'm done with this, back to practicing. Oh, let's practice that excerpt that I've been meaning to practice. Let's do, let's take this one really specific problem or specific thing that I'm trying to get better at, and just find out every way that I can work on it. Let's see. Play Spooky Scary Skeletons. Dun, 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 dun. Something like that, right? You'd love a stream of just me practicing. Sometimes I've almost done that when there aren't questions and things, but it's the only problem with that is like if I'm doing that, then I'm not answering questions and I'm kind of like disregarding what you're, what people come here for. Maybe not everybody would dislike that, but I feel like it'd be rude for me to just, kind of be sitting here just. Just completely disregard the chat. Also, sorry for not muting the vocal mic. I saw it peak and I was like, oops. Let's see. Han Solo, horn solo. It's definitely a good joke. You can make some Wookiee impressions on the French horn. Cries in novice. I like the cries in insert something here. It's a good bit. Let's see, what instruments do you play? Oh, that's not for me. Let's see. Thank you so much for advice. You have one more question. How do I get your fingers to keep up with my notes because my pinky sometimes falls behind? So it's a good question. One, your pinky is your weakest finger. Almost nothing you can do will really change that. But the real thing that makes this makes playing a brass instrument difficult is coordination. I think that there's so much that we do where our fingers aren't down perfectly and we're like, oh, we missed this high note. And so it's like, no, you missed that high note because you didn't press the buttons down at the right time. Those are some sort of things that I think if you practice slowly for long enough, you'll get it. And that might be long enough, might be past when the auditions are, unfortunately. Yeah. I kind of like the dynamic of you guys also talking to each other. It's kind of nice making a community. And a couple of you have asked about merch, and I've actually looked into it a little bit more. I've got some ideas. and I'm definitely willing to take some suggestions. So if anyone has some suggestions on merch and stuff that I should do, feel free to let me know. But what I'm thinking right now, because I found some places where you can do it on demand, where they'll print the T-shirt when when someone orders it, so I wouldn't have to buy a bunch of something. But basically, it's a couple designs that I was thinking of. So I've got the kind of collegey, school-y sort of theme of the low brass U thing, and so what I'm thinking is doing those baseball sort of shirts where it's like white in the middle and like the sleeves are a color. So like doing blue sleeves, white shirt, and then low brass U, like the banner for this video that you probably clicked on, something like that. And then I was also thinking about doing like an athletic polo with just like the logo. I was thinking about that. No promises, but Han Solo vest. I could do a vest. I don't know who would buy the vest, but let me make sure I got all the comments in there before they go away. You got a tenner for $20 at Goodwill. That stuff happens. There's sometimes where you can get a really good instrument. One of my old teachers got a Bach 50 bass trombone for like, I don't know, it was like $75 at a pawn shop or something. The days of the internet kind of took that away from us for the most part. Your director's showing off his plastic alto trombone. I don't have a plastic alto trombone, but I do have an alto trombone. Our little friend, the alto trombone, for comparison. I'll put the slides on my leg, so they're both on my leg, and you can see the difference in bell size and little tiny instrument. Yeah, they have plastic everything these days. But yeah, I think the plastic alto, I think is a P-Bone Mini. Merch, yeah, everybody wants the merch. See, the thing is, like, everybody wants the merch, and then, like, do people actually buy the merch? It's like, do I put on all this effort and then no one buys it? Because to me, it seems silly that people would want it, but if they want it, who am I to stop them? So, yeah, it might be coming soon. I got to look into it a little bit more, because I want it to be a good quality shirt. I don't want you to buy a shirt because you want to support me or you like the design, then it's like a terrible quality shirt. So even if it's going to happen, even if I started today, it's definitely not going to happen, the next day. Yeah, you can get some good deals on some stuff. You'd probably buy anything. Do you soprano or pick? No, I don't have anything smaller than the alto for trombone. That I'd like to get those are things that would just be fun things to have, but that's about it for me. It's weird to be honest, because there's a Chinese B flat alto trombone, but then like, isn't it basically a very small bore tenor? So a lot of times, especially with things like that, there's a language barrier and stuff that happens, especially like on those eBay things. You need to look at the picture. It might just be a small bore tenor, or it might be an E flat alto trombone and they just said B flat because they're confused. Whoever listed it didn't know what they were talking about. So, you can kind of always tell, even if it's not compared to anything, you can kind of see the difference. So play something on alto. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you're welcome, Colin. Yeah, this is not the mouthpiece that I usually play. And if there's one instrument that I'm like, I feel like the mouthpiece makes a huge difference for me, it's alto trombone. But I'm so hesitant to take the mouthpiece out of my case because it's basically my main mouthpiece that I play on small tenor on gigs. It's not what I play on when I'm like improvising or practicing, but like when I'm playing like pop music, which is mostly what I end up doing with that mouthpiece. And I'm just like, I've got a gig tomorrow, and I can't forget it. So I don't want to take it out of the case. But designed for the higher register, mini trumpets or piccolo trumpets. Yeah, I mean, trumpets come in all different keys. They kind of get smaller as you go up. But yeah, exactly where, they're just always getting smaller. And that's the thing. The length of any brass instrument determines its pitch. So, my C tuba, my really big tuba, is 16 feet. My F tuba is 12 feet. These are trombones are 9 feet. Alto trombone is what would it be? 7 feet, I think. So that's kind of like if you were to break this soldering, stretch it out, and make it one long pipe. That's how long it would be. So with all these different instruments, it just gets shorter and shorter. It loses 6% of its length to go up a half step, and it goes half of its length to go up an octave. Love that the community is getting bigger. Yeah, me too. How do you do trills? So those weren't my best trills. The trills in that piece are not great, but essentially it's a fast lip slur. So So essentially, I'm just alternating really fast between those two notes. And in that case, it's a 5th position note and a 6th position note. So you kind of see me like go from 5th position to like further out, but not quite 6, and hang out there. And that's kind of the best I can do. And what I kind of try to do is I try to play the note in between. So, if I'm trilling between a B flat and a C, I kind of try to play that C sharp or the B natural. I know what notes in between. The B natural in between, and kind of oscillate between those. So certain notes work out easier, certain notes work out harder, or don't work out as well, I should say. But yeah, it takes a long time to work on lip trills because you have to be practicing them in the high register. Let's see. When did you start playing trombone? I started playing trombone when I was a sophomore in high school because I wanted to play in the jazz band. And I was playing in the jazz band in middle school on drum set. And then there were a lot of really good drummers at my high school, and I knew that I wouldn't make it. So I had to figure out something else to do. Not just one, but everyone. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I see that they practically use for double contrabass flute, like why. I can't speak to why that exists, but sometimes it's just kind of for fun that these instruments exist. The sub-contrabass tuba doesn't need to exist. No one's using that in a concert, but some of them need to exist. Some of them needed to exist at one point in time. That's another way to look at it. Not all these instruments have been around for 400 years. The tuba was invented in the 1800s. Before that, they didn't have the tuba. What did they do? They used ophicleide, they used serpent, they used all these other instruments. But I don't think the community should get so big that you can't read the comments. I mean, it's already kind of hard to get through all these comments before they go away, unless I just like barely answer the questions. But maybe at one point in time we'll have we'll have the normal people, and then we'll have our like specialized people who are actually into it. That's kind of my plan, and that's again kind of why I changed the name from just being Zach Marley to being Low Brass U, because I wanted to be kind of more of a community sort of thing. And obviously, I'm the one on camera. It's still going to be somewhat about me. There's kind of no getting around that. But I want to have other people involved. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's not a good time to say, hey, do you want to come over and do something that, do you want to play tuba with me? That's not a good idea right now. But I appreciate that everyone thinks I deserve the attention. Let's see. Been stuck on those for a bit. I lost what that comment was about. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I definitely plan on growing the channel. You know, plans aren't always exactly what happens, but I plan on keeping doing these live streams. I mean, I assume that life will get busier and it'll be harder to do some of these live streams, but they've been a lot of fun, especially with kind of the people who've been recurring guests. It's kind of nice, and I can like recognize the names, and it's like, oh yeah, I know you play Tuba, I know you play Euphonium. It's kind of nice. Let's see. The world's largest tuba, yeah. What is it? They call it Carl, right? Because it's Carl Fisher's instrument, like the publishing company. Yeah, I haven't seen it in person. I've seen the video, obviously. That's one of those videos that like all of my extended family send me, like, oh, have you seen this? And it's like, yeah. You know, watch probably more tuba videos than my aunt does. But yeah, that's a good video that comes up from time to time. 1 second. Let's see. Can I be on later? I don't know what you mean. It was called the Emperor Tuba. Yeah, they're different names. It's technical like name based off of, you know, what we should call it. It's like a sub-contrabass tuba. It sucks being a music major right now. I know. Gotcha on the video. Oh, you're saying like on this live stream? I'm sure I do have the technology to do that, but I don't currently know how to do that. And maybe that's something I could do later, you know, do kind of a masterclass thing you play and I, you know, critique in front of people or something like that. That could always be a thing. But yeah, let's see. I also do plan on doing some like more jazz playing on these things, but I want to do it with play-alongs, and I think I mentioned it before, but I'll probably do it with like an app like iRealB that's a computer-generated play-along, which I think gets me out of copyright issues. I'm just like really worried of getting a copyright strike because I know on YouTube it could not even be one, and they say it is one. Like one, I had a video taken down once that said it's the live masters recital. It's back up on my channel now, but it was my live masters recital from however many years ago it was now, 2015 or something like that. And I played the Swan by Saint-Saëns on there, and which that piece is public domain, first of all, so there shouldn't be copyright with the music itself. But what I got a copyright strike, and it was taken down because the artificial intelligence that checks those sorts of things said that I used a Christian Lindbergh recording in my video, which, like, I mean, I would be flattered if someone actually thought, you know, could mistake me for Christian Lindbergh, but I didn't sound as good as Christian Lindbergh on that live recording. I know that. So it is kind of frustrating that it flagged it. And it was down for like a couple of weeks until a human then went back and reviewed it and could clearly tell, oh, that's not a recording. I can see this person playing this right now. But that's how those things work. Definitely for better or worse. Yeah, there's so many streamers, right? Yeah, because everybody's at home. And those, you know, that's the sort of thing. It's like, it's a little frustrating because I don't want to be just like another one, because these are kind of part of my plans. But you know, it's also got the time. You're pretty new and you're a big fan of my sound. Thank you. What instrument do you play, Hudson? I'm trying to think of another good thing to play. Yeah, it's definitely a compliment that they thought but it's also a compliment from artificial intelligence, so it's not a real compliment. Trombone, awesome. You're not just another streamer. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just stream I'll stream playing Among Us or something. Fun fact, I've never actually played Among Us. I know just enough to almost seem young. Let's do some Ben Miles contraption. Someone asked for that the other day, and I said no, because it's hard, and I might not play it well. But we're all friends here, right? We've all missed notes. Let's see. Made region brand. That's awesome. Can you play low D, high D, A? I don't know what. I feel like I'm being baited into something that I shouldn't do. But how bad can it be? It's just music, right? Let's see. Oh, you want it on trombone. High D. Is that something that you're going for? I can't really tell what you're after there. In middle school, I used to go to Regions Canceled. Yeah, that sort of stuff's happening. What does honor band mean? Like clinics? Different school. Some schools like call honor band is usually like their top band. It was kind of weird when I first heard that too, because none of the schools around me growing up referred to it that way. But that's usually what it means. Is just that it's their top band. There's so many names for bands and things in it. Especially at the University of North Texas, they added some bands a couple of years ago, and they made it so difficult to understand because it's like they just had Wind Symphony. That was the only one with wind in the title, and that was the top. And then now it's like Wind Symphony, then Symphonic Band, then Wind Ensemble, then Brass Band, then University Band. It's like I can't even keep track of them. Sounds like Megalovania. Someone asked me to play that before. I don't know what that means. Is that a movie? Feels like it's a movie. You played the Etudes this year very well. Thank you. Thank you, Brendan. It's from a game. Gotcha. See, I know just enough to kind of seem, relevant. I practice the tuba a lot and trombone and euphonium a lot. I don't play a lot of games and stuff as much as I used to. But yeah, let's do some contraptions. Wait, are Dennis Wicks meant to play with Bach's? That's kind of there's no clear-cut answer to that. I mean, they're mouthpieces with specific instruments. It's always like tricky to figure out what works, and it's really a personal thing. This is a Bach trombone. I play a Dennis Wick mouthpiece, and I know tons of people who do. I don't know that Dennis Wick is going out of their way to make them work with Bach's, but they probably do pretty well for the most part. I have 3 Bach trombones, and I play Dennis Wicks in all of them exclusively, and it works out. Classical music was metal before electricity, yeah. Awkward page turn. You play a Bach 42BO with the Dennis Wick Heritage 4AL. And you said you're in 8th grade, right? Playing on a 4. It's maybe a little bigger than I'd recommend, but if it works, it works. But yeah, I mean, in general, instruments are made similarly enough these days as far as like mouthpiece fit and stuff. That's really the big thing, is how that mouthpiece fits in that receiver. And we're pretty close to, doing those. They're pretty close. They were a bunch of different things, and now they're kind of whittled into being more similar. Let's see, what piece is this? That was Ben Miles's Contraptions, which is an unaccompanied tuba solo, and that was the first movement. Pulleys, levers, and gears. Is that the right order? I think it is. Pulleys. Oh no, pulleys, gears, cogs, and levers. They're contraptions. They're simple machines. But let's see here. You should play some spooky tunes. Yeah, I don't know what spooky tunes I should play. That would be a good guitar riff. What's it called? Yeah, so Ben Miles, Pulleys. I already forgot it. Pulleys. Well, it's contraptions, but I can't remember the pulleys, gears, or levers, whatever it is. You just looked on Dennis Wick for two mouthpieces, and it's kind of confusing. Yeah, it is a little bit confusing. So Brady and Hudson, you're talking about. I think, Brady, you're talking about tuba mouthpieces. Hudson, you're talking about trombone mouthpieces. So the 5L is basically their smallest mouthpiece, and probably not what I would recommend for a whole lot of things. It's pretty small. A kind of standard, they're kind of middle of the road mouthpiece is their 2 line. They have a bunch of different ones: the 2L, the 2XL, the 2.5cc. I should know all of them, but I don't know all of them. But yeah, I would stick around a 2. I play a 2 on F tuba, and I mainly play a 1 on C tuba, 1XL, but I also have a 2XL that I sometimes use. And probably the 2XL would be my top, just kind of blanket pick, but that's not a good way to go about mouthpieces. Is here's the best mouthpiece for everyone, for everything ever. I personally like the Robert Tucci RT44 and 48. Yeah, I haven't played any of the Robert Tucci mouthpieces since the Perrin-Tucci split, but I played those before. Those are good mouthpieces. All the Perrin-Tucci stuff never really worked well for me, but it is what it is. You got braces off a month ago and used to play 5G, but after the change decided to play 4. Yeah, whatever works. There's nothing wrong with 4. A lot of professional orchestral trombonists play a 4. It's just not common that I hear a middle school student play a 4. But if it sounds good, it is good. So should you slowly work your way up to 2 mouthpieces size based on skill? There's some of that. I try to start with most of my students with kind of a middle of the road mouthpiece, and that's what I think most people should do most of their playing on. I find that's the way that we work in society. It's like, I want a better high range. Let me go get a smaller mouthpiece. And then this other thing gets worse. I think get a middle of the road mouthpiece, something pretty simple. And this isn't a uniquely me idea or anything, but it's something that I believe in. Get something relatively simple and try to get everything to work, really well on that. And then once you get older and you can do most things on that mouthpiece, then you find something that's maybe a little bit more optimized for you. But you can waste a lot of money trying to get the best mouthpieces for you. Spooky Sierra Skeletons, I did do that. Gravity Falls, I don't know what that is. Or Harry Potter. I couldn't even sing the Harry Potter theme. I should be able to do that, but I never read the books really, and I've only seen a couple of the movies. I know I'm not normal. What Bach bass drum model is that? I don't think I've seen one like that before. You're not wrong to think that. So what model is kind of a tricky question because it's been modified. So originally this was a Bach 50B with 1 valve. Clearly that is not the state that it's in at this point. So a man by the name of Larry Minnick took this instrument and added a second valve, redid the wrap of the first valve, and obviously created a new wrap for the second valve, changed the lead pipe, probably did some other little things to it that I don't know. But essentially, it's a very heavily modified Bach. So even, it says 50B on the bell, but 50Bs don't have 2 valves. But it's not a 50B2 because it's not what that looks like. So, I don't know what to tell you. Then it's just a custom instrument, I guess. You're gonna head out. Thanks for being on the stream, Brady. You got to study for that test. I understand. Opinions on the Superbone. It's cool. I don't know how practical it is for much. I played one only a handful of times. but they're cool. I would have one if I had limitless money. I don't know if I'd use it, but it'd be fun to look at and show people. Be great for these streams. Robert Tucci RT sounds like a supercar name. Yeah, isn't that like the like rally cars for Ford, like the Ford Focus RT? Good luck, Brady. Yes, everyone wish Brady good luck on his test. But the smaller mouthpieces are too bright for you. Yeah, and that's, mouthpieces change your sound, and it may not be the sound that you want, all those sorts of things. So yeah, there are so many different ways to go about mouthpieces. And I don't push my students super hard in one direction unless I really feel strongly that there's a problem. But I get frustrated with my students who want to flip-flop mouthpieces all the time. That's kind of hard to deal with. You play bass and you have a 50B3. Oh, so you're playing... So Hudson, maybe I was confused because you said you played trombone. You're talking about using a 4 on bass trombone, is that correct? I was thinking that you were talking about playing a tenor trombone. Have you ever Fly or Die? Yes, I have. I haven't played it. That video, it's like, I don't know if I could do any better, so why bother? No, I'll probably play it eventually, but right now I don't. School, it's awesome. Yes. Like Peter Steiner. Yeah, Peter Steiner's great. Good luck, Brady. Good luck, Brady. Head out to by Zach. Write a great poem. Everybody wish Zach good luck on his poem. You played both, yes. I played on both. I'm not sure what is a good mouthpiece for bass. Yeah, I mean, in general, most people play a bigger mouthpiece than a 4 on bass. Four is probably, it's on the big side of tenor. It's not too big for tenor, but it's on the big side. I have never heard you play. Maybe that 4 sounds great, but I would maybe encourage you to at least, maybe experiment with a 5. But for bass, I play a 0 or sometimes a 1. And the Dennis Wick to Bach numbers aren't perfectly comparable. But 1 1/4 from Bach or 1 1/2 or a 2 is a pretty common amount. A lot of my friends who I really like the way they sound on bass trombone, they're Dennis Wick players, play a 2. I just play something a little bit bigger. It's kind of just what I'm used to. I tried switching to the 1. I even tried to force myself into a 2 for a while, and it just wasn't happening. Ford Focus RS and RT, but the official car is discontinued, but called the Escort RS Cosworth. I play a Schilke 60. I just joined what going on. Welcome, Logan. You play a Schilke 60 on bass. That's a big one. I like the Schilke 59 on bass, but I never really got too into the Schilke 60. Fly or Die, but every time he ends a phrase with a pedal tone, you take a shot. Yeah, that might not end up so well. Your euphonium's dirty. You should clean it. You'll be drunk in 30 seconds, probably so. I never really had the chance to try a wide variety of mouthpieces. Yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, I mean, especially right now, it's not a huge deal. I don't know anyone that plays on a 4 on bass trombone. Everyone I can think of, the smallest mouthpiece that I know that someone plays and sounds good on a bass trombone is a 3. But they're not you. So it may be just what's right for you. And that's how I try to treat things with mouthpieces and equipment in general. There's not one perfect mouthpiece for everybody. And anyone who's ever tells you that probably is trying to sell you a mouthpiece. That's kind of how I feel. Or is just maybe delusional. Yeah, that would not be a good challenge with that Fly or Die. I don't think Tuba Man's still here. He hasn't commented in a while. You sound good on the pedals don't pop out as well. Yeah, that may be a product of it not being a big enough mouthpiece. And I can take my tenor mouthpiece and play bass trombone, and it won't sound, won't sound terrible. Let's see. Got too many instruments around me. Versus on my actual bass trombone mouthpiece. So that was a 5, which, is close to your 4. I don't actually have a 4 close by. So this is on my 0, which is my normal mouthpiece. So I don't know how well that translates on the internet with the internet connections that we all have, but to me it's a little bit warmer. It's got a bigger body of sound, and that's why I'd probably go with something a little bit bigger. But you can definitely go too big and have a lot of issues. So it's just one of those games. Did Emiliano show up today? I don't think so. What do you play on tenor? I play a Dennis Wick 5B, right? 5BL, yeah. I can never remember because there's also the ALs. So it's, I would say a 5 is kind of the a normal size. The fact that this is the B, I think makes it it's a little bit smaller maybe, but it works for me. I'm definitely, I haven't really kind of dealt with it, but I've been meaning to kind of contact Dennis Wick and try some other mouthpieces, but it's just not super important or super pressing right now. We wish you had that many instruments around me. Yeah, save up your money one day. This definitely was not overnight by any stretch. These were a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears that went into purchasing all of these instruments, and it took me more than a few years. I'm not in high school, but yeah, I mean, if you are good with your money, it's definitely not impossible. And I always looked for deals. Almost none of these were purchased brand new. A couple of more, this one was, and that was an expensive one. I was in high school when I got this, and it was an unfortunate situation to have some gigs and things as a high schooler, which is kind of rare. And I had some of my own money saved up from birthdays and Christmases, just like everybody else, and I was able to buy it. That's one of those things that's nice because I didn't have any expenses at that time. But other than that, this was used. I got this for $3,500, which to find a good double valve bass trombone, that's pretty hard. My F tuba was $4,000. It's been a while. I'm kind of forgetting, but I think it was $4,000. My C tuba was actually really cheap. It was only $3,500, which is ridiculous. But most of the other trombones were around $1,000. So, I really try to get good deals. I'm definitely not, let me go spend $15,000 on a tuba. I would love to, but I wouldn't be able to have all these instruments. Let's see. Right at Valkyries. Yep, that's what I was playing. I think you did spell it correctly. It's a little bit far away. But yeah. Every time it goes up, you do one push-up. You'd be ripped as the Valkyries. Got your horn for Christmas last year. That's awesome. Is that your tenor? Because I think you said the bass was the schools. Your dream is to have a nice 5-valve piston CC tuba, Con 20K, and a dependent bass bone. Yeah, and I mean that can happen. Yeah, I play independent. I'd like to get a dependent just to kind of practice on, and especially with some of the educational content I'd like to do, it would make sense for me to have both and to demonstrate, what's the difference? Why would you want one over the other? And, but most of the people around me play independent. I think that's just kind of somewhat regional, but that's kind of how it happens to be for me. But tenor is it's pretty good. I just don't like the valve that much. Yeah, the valve matters. That's why, as expensive as this instrument was, that's why I ended up going with it because it has this Rotax valve, which is designed by the company Wilson in Switzerland. And it's just such a great valve. Like if I do things where I go back and forth between like trigger low B flat and first position B flat, it's like you can almost not hear a difference. And probably most of the difference that you hear is my slight intonation discrepancies. But you just want an euphonium with noise. Yeah, euphoniums are good. What's your favorite solo you played? Maybe a small part of it if it's an uncommon. Maybe play a small part of it. Let's see here. That's a good question. Let me think on that. I mean, the Broughton is one that I really like. I mentioned that before and played it a couple times on stream. But maybe it's weird because like I don't want to give the same answers all the time, but I get the same questions all the time. So I don't know if I should just change it up because I could just tell you a different piece. I like a lot of different pieces. But if you think about a bass drum with one trigger is basically a chunky trigger tenor. Yeah, but that's actually what they used to be. The second valve wasn't a common thing. It really wasn't a common thing until like the 90s. In the 80s, some people had them, but not a whole lot. And that's when if you look at some old method books for bass trombone, they'll talk about valve and E. Like, try this etude valve and E, and it's like, so you want me to pull out this and go about business as normal? And it's possible, but it's definitely a weird thing to do, and we would kind of never think about that now. It used to be that bass trombones only had one valve, and if you go back and far enough, they were in F and had 0 valves. But yeah, 2 valves to me, that's what a bass trombone is in a 21st century context. I would love to have a single valve bass, and I would use it when I don't need the second valve. But who's watching in 2020? Let's see. I lost my spot here. Ave Maria on trombone, played by this one dude, but every time it goes into the staff, yeah. It's gotten to be very memey today, which I don't mind. I like memes. I feel like even talking about memes is just like, that meme that's like, is it Steve Buscemi, and he's got like a skateboard and he's like, "What's up, my fellow kids?" I feel like that's what it sounds like when I'm talking to memes. Let's see. Gosh, what's a good piece? I really like the Lebedev Concerto in One Movement. That's a great one. I'll play a little bit of that, even though that's not quite as uncommon. Morceau Symphonique, that's a good one. There are actually 2 Morceau Symphoniques for trombone, but I assume you're talking about the more common one. So here's a little bit of Lebedev's Concerto in One Movement, sometimes called Concerto Number 1. Oh no, that is right now. I second guess myself. I've a couple different editions of this piece, and I was there's a note that was changed from the original, and I was trying to change it, but this was the correct one. If anybody's familiar with this piece, the first edition that we had in the United States, Alan Ostrander got and edited it. And since, going back to our discussion about bass trombones only having one valve, they did at that time. And so there's this line here that I just ended with. G flat, C flat, B flat, E flat. And that C flat, without doing valve and E or something ridiculous with only one valve, you can only, you can't play that note really on bass trombone with one valve. So he changed that note to an A flat, which is what my brain did for some reason. And Lebedev actually found out about this and was actually really, before he died, he found out about it. He was like, "This is not the version that anyone should use. I did not, condone this." But, at the time that this was brought into the United States, was maybe not the best of times between the United States and Russia, and they didn't really honor the copyright laws. So, have I heard of Hisashi Ariyama? I think I have, but I'm not sure. Kevin Day Euphonium Concerto with all 3 movements. I have not looked at. I've heard a little bit of that. I've heard like some of the DeMondre Thurman clips and things. I have not played that piece, and that's definitely not I'll just look at it. I remember Trent Hamilton's video where he was fubbing around where he played contrabass trombone with a French horn mouthpiece. Yep, that's the kind of Trent Hamilton thing. Some interesting combinations of things. His high notes and tone are so good. Yeah, you sound so good on tuba. Thank you. The tuba solo in pictures, though. You're talking about Biedlow. Oh snap! I should be out in a bit because classes. Happy Halloween, y'all. Yeah, thanks for being on the stream today. I'm sure I'll play some of Beatlo. It's too much trouble to pull it up since it's not public domain, so I'll do it from memory. It should be fine. This is like the first half of it. I apologize if I breathed at the wrong spot or something, doing it from memory. Let's see. Do you have any exercises for getting more familiar with the G-flat attachment? That was an F tuba that I was just playing. So with the way my valve is set up, it's really actually pretty easy to do this and pop. Maybe it's not as easy. It used to be easy. I think something might have gotten tightened when I took it into the shop last time. I literally would play without your F valve. So whether you actually, unscrew the linkage or something, or, take your thumb off of it, or you can have your thumb on it, for comfort. But I would really get used to playing just the second valve. And I haven't had the opportunity, like a good setup to do this with a student, but I've thought about doing this. And this would be kind of a cruel thing to do, but it'd be like a good summer project with one of my students, maybe to take their linkage away from them on their F attachment and just say, yeah, you have to play without it. Figure it out. That's the kind of thing that I do. And sometimes I'll have days where I just play bass trombone without the F attachment, especially when I've been kind of, away from bass trombone a little bit. I'll do something like that. Yeah, learning to play scales with a G flat is good too. You're back. Welcome back, Colin. What do you prefer between those three? Oh, between B flat, C, and F tuba. It just depends on the context. In a perfect world, I have all three. I have two. I have a C and an F tuba, and they can get me through most things. But realistically, I'd like to have a B flat, a C, an F, and an E flat. So for me, that's definitely something that they all have their purpose, and the purposes overlap. But and it's not quite that simple either. But yeah, I really like them all. If I just had one, it would be a C tuba probably, but maybe it's an F. The old school answer is definitely like contrabass tuba is the tuba. The F tuba is not, not the real instrument. But there's a lot you can do with the F tuba. Let's see. I want to be one of your students. You can be. I do online lessons, and once this is over, I also do in-person lessons. But I don't know where you live. But regardless, we definitely can do online lessons. If you're interested in online lessons, you can message me on Instagram. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Just LowBrassU on Instagram. And give me a day or so, because the messages filter, it's set up to go, it's set up to go to a spot where it doesn't vibrate my phone or anything. So I won't get a notification unless I specifically check it. So a lot of people are back. You've got Velvet Brown, like with you right now, or because she's your teacher, right? What do you miss? You missed everything. You don't have social media. You can email me at zachmarleymusic@gmail.com. So ZACHMARLEY music, the traditional spelling, at gmail.com. Those are kind of the best ways to get hold of me. And that will, ring my phone. So I don't have an excuse if I don't get back to you. But yeah, those are probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me. YouTube doesn't really have anything, you could write in a comment, but that's, not the easiest way to do it. So, but yeah, and that goes for everybody else too. If you're interested in lessons, I know, especially right now, everyone is like, oh, I do online lessons. No, I can teach you online lessons. And I chose not to make, like a big post saying, saying that, I can do online lessons because, of course I can do online lessons, but I just didn't want to make a big deal about it, but I'm definitely happy to take on a few more students. I've got the space and the time right now. So yeah, if you want to reach out, that'd be great. Even if it's just one lesson, that's fine too. She is, sorry, my wording's off. Yeah. Bella Brown's great. I don't think I've ever really met her. I've been around her in a couple circumstances, but yeah, she's great. She's got some really great albums. I know the John Stevens, Salve Venere, Salve Marte is like one of those recordings that I always go back to of hers. What was the Gmail? Zach, I'll just type it because we have the technology. Do you know Megan Booten? I don't think so. I'm always afraid that someone's like, do you know this person? It's like, I actually do, but I, just out of context, I didn't. Using a trusty Facebook. But I do know Alton, decently well. Got 18 mutual friends with Megan. Teaches at Texas A&M Kingsville. Yeah, no, I don't think that we've ever met. I know the tuba teacher at Texas A&M Kingsville, but have you ever played billiard? No, I don't think so. I see you're dressed up as that guy from Low Brass Youth. Yep, I'm a really good impersonator. I can't play the tuba as well, though, unfortunately. This man's vest is on point. Yeah, this is I think a Christmas present from my mom, I think. Yeah, she got my wife and I vests last winter, I think it was, last Christmas. Sweater vest today. I don't know if this counts as a sweater vest because it's like a fleece zip vest. Oh, that's Brian. Welcome Brian to the chat. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. Maybe it's bad with the gray background also, but I do it anyway. Let's see. Do I charge for the lessons? Yes, I do. So we can talk about that if you message me. Alton was your old teacher, but he was so rude to me. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. He's been nice to me, but do you know Mason? Met him on an online festival and heard he went to UNT. Yes, I know Mason. Mason did his undergrad at the same time I was doing my doctorate, and I actually taught him for a little while because the way we generally do things at UNT is, especially for like the performance majors, you generally study with the professor. It's like what he usually does is it ends up being C tuba for the most part, and then with a grad student you study F tuba. So I taught Mason F tuba for a year. I think it's just a year, maybe it was longer. But yeah, Mason's great. I wouldn't claim that I taught him everything I know, but I'm definitely glad to claim him as a student. It was kind of funny because we did Falcone the same year, and so my name was, and he was in the artist division with me. So you look at the 10 semifinalists and it's like Zach Marley, and then you scroll down and it's Mason Soria, and then it's like teachers of Mason Soria, Zach Marley, which is kind of goofy to see. But do I know Guillermo Rivera? He's a trombone player, teaches middle school and high school, like the best person. I don't think so, no. He made a 7th grade girl cry. I feel so bad because she was in my band buddy for 7th grade. He said she sounds bad. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't really know what to tell you. 2man365. I'm gonna write a comic series about you. But yeah, if anyone wants to get do some lessons, definitely get in touch. My kind of thing is I generally do hour lessons, but I generally go over an hour. If you've been watching these streams, you can probably tell that I get to talking a little bit. So I want to make sure you get your value's worth, get to play plenty. So an hour lesson usually turns into, probably, especially like if they're one-off lessons, like, 80 minutes or so. It's from Roma, and I forgot his name though. I don't know. Yeah, if you'd like to, Hudson, again, I think my email, you can still scroll up and find that. But yeah, I love giving lessons, and I've got a pretty good, live stream or, live setup to do. It's basically the same setup as you see here. I have like a cinema camera that's mounted to the wall, going to a capture card on my computer. I have a second computer just for the audio, and that's what you see me just off screen. It's a laptop here. So I think I've got a pretty good setup. But the Adventures of Colin and Barbecue Foot Massage. I'm glad that Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage is back in the chat. I can't draw though. Might need to do that to do a successful comic. Imagine not being in TMEA. Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't as a high school student. It's funny. You look at my channel, and it's like TMEA. That's like the main thing. It's like I'm not even from Texas. I just play a Texan on TV. But yeah, PMEA is more of a meme. Yeah, each state is so different. I mean, KMEA, Kentucky, where I grew up, it's similar to Texas in like, people really care about it, because some states people don't really care about it. And there are some really good players. I went to a performing arts high school in Kentucky, and there was one other performing arts high school, and especially for band, it was like in all state, it was maybe like 50% those two schools. So, and it was a lot of that was my high school. So it was kind of like, like over half my band program made all state pretty much every year, which is just kind of the state of what the state, or a better way, it's the state of the Commonwealth, because Kentucky's a Commonwealth, not a state. Is there a march written for TMEA? Like for the conference, or like from the bands? I'm not sure. I remember his name, Corey Graves from Roma. I don't know. TMEA is cool, but it's so hard for us 5As to make it because 6As exist. Yeah, and at the end of the day, we talked about this earlier on stream. I'm not sure how many of these 13 people were the people that were on earlier. But yeah, it's not all about what it's about is you making progress. And I know it's like you hear these sorts of things of like, be the best you can be, and it's just like all warm and fuzzy, but that's really what it is. You should be trying to get better for you, and if that means that you make first chair in all state, that's awesome. But if you got better, you won. I know it may not feel that way, and I certainly wouldn't have listened to someone tell me that in high school. If I didn't make all state, I would have been upset. I totally get it, but yeah, it's really about making progress. That's the real thing. Sophomore, but went to area and just wow, the difference in Region 21. I'm not sure what region that is. I don't see, that's showing my not Texas self. I don't know my regions. You can just make 5A all state. You don't have to compete with 6A. Yeah, Brian's a great teacher. Brian's not just a Texan on TV. Brian's a real Texan. I would say that he's even a real Texan that drives a truck. But Brian, you sold your truck, didn't you? So you're not even a real Texan anymore. Hudson, you live in Texas, in Austin. Yeah, you're a little far away from me. I assumed you lived near Austin since you were talking about Alton. But I mean, yeah, but Allstate is cool. Yeah, it's cool, but if it's okay to not make it too. Do you know any music educators in McKinney? I know some people who teach out there. I know one of the tuba teachers for one of the ISDs out there. I assume he's still there, David Humphreys. Don't remind me. Yeah, you sold that truck. You're not a real Texan anymore. You got to give up your Texas driver's license. And I think you now have to get like an Idaho driver's license or something sad. Sorry to anyone who's in Idaho. I don't actually mean any offense. Idaho is a beautiful place. There's a march that we've played at a festival called Salute to PMEA. Get stuck in your head. Oh yeah, I don't think there's anything like that for TMEA, but I could be wrong. Again, I never made all state in Texas because I didn't live here. Comic series? Make it a Star Wars comic series and you have me sold. Sorry, Brian, please return the Texas license. Yeah. See, everybody was so happy that Brian came back, but they didn't know that you'd sold your truck, Brian. So maybe they're not so happy anymore. I know we don't. There's still just one spot, 5A and 2 for 6A euphonium. Oh, you're talking about you don't have to do 6A. Yeah. And again, Allstate's not everything. It's a cool thing. It's great to work on. It's great, it's great to get better. That's what really matters. But I'm sure Brian can attest to it. When Brian gets hired for a gig playing with, like the Houston Symphony or something, does anybody ask if you made All-State in high school? Probably not, I would assume, Brian. Favorite scary music? I don't know that I really have any. If Symphony Fantastique counts as scary, which you kind of already, opened that door, I'd count that. You're about to buy 1.5 acres. It gives me some more Texan street cred. I mean, 1.5 acres, that's basically a neighborhood in Texas, right? Or that's a normal house in a neighborhood. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, no one, I'm not saying no one ever cares. It's a great thing for entering into college and things. But if you think that because you didn't make All-State that some schools, not even going to hear you audition, that's probably not true. Let's see. Last year's Region Studies for bass the jazz ones were great. I don't remember what they were last year. I didn't really work on the bass trombone ones much. They were from that one book. Yeah, I didn't have the book and I was going to get it and then I didn't. Do I know Chris Bill? Not personally. I've been around him a couple of times, but I don't, we're not texting or anything. No one in my school has ever made All-State. I'm going to be the first one. Yeah, do it. You can do it. You're 16, can't afford a truck. Am I a Texan? Yeah, you're probably still a Texan. You're a Texan if you want to be. That's a complicated question. You are whatever you believe you are. What part, Colin? Yeah, the Lou Gillis book. Yeah, I never got that book. We believe in your disrespect. Just do your best and work. We believe in you disrespect. I don't know what that means. If you could own any tuba, what would you pick? So I like this hypothetical. So I have the tubas that I have. I don't have to sell them, and I'm picking a third one to complement those. Or is this a scenario where I have no tubas, I get to pick one tuba, and that's what I'm picking? Because those are different questions. Texan is a mindset. You bet it is. In the beach near Corpus. What is this? Man, disrespect. Might be ineligible for band, but I want to try to make it since band is live. Yeah, you should do it. You pick two. Oh, I picked two. So this is like pick your two tubas, just like any two tubas. Like theoretically, my favorite C tuba, my favorite F tuba. I love how there's another guy from Texas. There's a lot of people from Texas because I post all the Texas All-State videos. Emiliano, I don't think Emiliano's here. So let's go for that. My perfect C, probably. I think there also has to be a barrier that I can't sell it, because the obvious thing would be to get a Yama York and then immediately sell it and buy two more tubas with that money. But it probably, to be honest, I'd have to sit down with all the tubas. I played the Bear, I played the Yama York, I played Nerschels, I played HB50s from Hirschberner, I played 2165s, I played whatever the other one is that is not quite that before it. I played all of those. Just on gut feeling, I would say a Nerschel, but if I had limitless money, I would have all of them lined up in a big hall and try everything out with 15 people listening to me, and we'd all get together and talk about it. So on gut, I would say a Nerschel, but it could be a different 6/4 C tuba. F tuba wise, that's tricky. Yeah, I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure on the F tuba either. I'd have to line them all up, but I really like that Roger Bobo F from Yamaha. I really like that one. But I've only played it once, but I'm pretty sure that still might be it. Let's see. What part is Brian from? I'm not sure if he wants me to out him as being where he's located. Our school's doing a competition called Round Rock Band Classic, and we get results from round one tomorrow. Good luck. Sure, you'll do great. You played the 21 Savage tuba. Yeah, what 21? Why do you have 21 Savage? Why do you have a 6-car garage, but you only have, or 12-car garage, but you only have 6 cars? That's the line, right? Yeah, theoretically, I'd have a 12-car garage that was just filled with tubas. When you learn about the instrument you play, you become a regular. Yeah, that's definitely it. It's still sometimes hard for me to remember, especially when like it's like a new stream. And especially like the screen is a little bit far away. Like you can see me kind of struggling to read it sometimes. For you, the 6450 Bear, that's a great tuba, and the 2260, that's a good one too. I haven't like spent enough time with the 2260. I'm intrigued by the 2260. I do not like that the 5th and 6th valves are dependent on principal. So that's one thing that bothers me, because that takes away 5 and 3. Or so 5, 2, 3. I like that combination. I would miss it, I think. But maybe I would get over it. I don't know. To me, having a 6-valve tuba, one of the best things is it has 64 combinations of valves, but a dependent 5th and 6th takes a lot of that away. Let's see. Hudson, are you from Round Rock? Yep, I was born there. Oh, nice. YEP 842 TS. Yeah, that's a great euphonium. My euphonium is basically a stencil or a copy of the 642 from Yamaha, which is, it's good. I really like a lot of Yamaha's euphoniums. Let's see. You can make mouthpiece with any part of a different mouthpiece. What rim, cup, throat bore, and back bore would you use? Oh man, that's a question. I don't think that's a fair question, because all of those things interact with the other. So it's like if I say this rim with this cup and this back bore, like they might not all be pieced together well. But first, I would say in general, I really like the Dennis Wick Classic Series rims. I think they fit on my face nicely, and I feel at home on them, and I kind of always have. In general, kind of open back bore. I've thought many times about like drilling out a back bore. I don't really know about throat so much. I mean, it depends on what instrument I'm playing, especially for the cup. But yeah, it's tricky. Neo euphoniums personally like for me. Yeah, the Neo ones are great. Even the 642. The 642 isn't the top tier model, but it's a really great euphonium. Ever messed with a contrabone? Yeah, I have. Both of the schools that I went to for college had Tyne Contras, so I played those a little bit. And Houghton Horns had, or they might still have the Tyne Contra. I doubt they've sold it yet, but they had one that I went and played a while ago, which was fun. And I played a few others, but I'd love to get one. It would never pay for itself, which is kind of the unfortunate part. Never played a Xeno before. Xenos are pretty good. I don't own any, but they're, I really like the small bore Xenos. I also, let's see. Yamaha 321 is a great euphonium. I know that it's non-compensating, and that makes it, not what a lot of professionals play, but that's a great euphonium too, to be honest. Have you ever played with braces? I had braces for, I think, 10 months when I was in middle school. I was serious about playing for a middle schooler, but, or I liked playing as a middle schooler, but maybe I wasn't as serious. They still have it there. Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, that instrument is worth that much money, but it's also not worth that much money. Like, it's a great instrument, and it was, I'm sure, very expensive to make and import here. It plays beautifully, but if I bought a contrabass trombone, it would be a really cool thing for live streams, and maybe I'd get 2 more viewers. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't make me money, and I would have spent 16 grand or whatever it is. What jazz trombone mouthpiece do you recommend? Had my jazz band trombones ask me today. So just my kind of general multi-purpose. So Brian's asking because he teaches at Sam Houston. He teaches one of their big bands there. So he's talking about his trombone students. So I use a Dennis Wick Heritage 7CS. And in general, I recommend a 7. I'm sure you know, Brian, that like one mouthpiece doesn't rule all for everybody, but kind of a good starting place for jazz to me is a 7. I know a lot of people who play 6s. I know a lot of people play 11s and 12s. And I do have, pretty much at any point in time, in my case, I have a 7 and a 12. And I will use both. Like I play 12s for most of my cover band stuff. But yeah, the 7 CS is kind of, if I just had one, this would be it. I can do everything on this. Certain things are slightly easier on the 12, but there are lots of things on the 12 that I personally would have a lot of struggle with in the real world. Like occasionally I've like forgotten the 7 or had to do everything, and like we've had like a dinner jazz set. I've had to like improvise on the 12, and it's just been kind of a nightmare for me. But yeah, I would say a 7. But it depends on what instrument they're playing too. I think that there's a big balance of that. And I generally am playing large, small bores. My small bores have larger bores for small bores, 508 or so. So sometimes a small mouthpiece works better for that than it might for a large or smaller bore, small tenor. 842 is the same price as like a car. Yeah, I mean, talk about brass instruments. I mean, a lot of these are the same prices as cars. That's just kind of unfortunately the way that it is. Let's see. Man, yeah, I got some good jokes. But they're from TMEA. Yeah, we've got the good, we've got a good mix of like serious questions, and then things that aren't serious questions are fun, kind things. So that's nice. Hot cross buns. Do you really want me to play hot cross buns? Here, I'll play hot cross buns, but I'll do it my way. There you go. Hot cross buns. Two with super heavy swing. I already did it. We're already down. We're already done with hot cross buns. Carnival of Venice. Oh, I can't. I don't want to play Carnival of Venice right now. I've performed Carnival of Venice twice, and one time went okay. One time did not go okay. I tried to play it in high school, and I didn't really practice it enough, and I probably wasn't good enough to play it. But I wasn't thorough in my practicing back then. With dotted swing. Yeah. I mean, I could play some of it on euphonium. That'd probably be the easiest one for me to because that's what I played it on when I did. I'm not going to play like the last variation. That's for sure. I'll do it until it gets hard and I can't do it anymore. Oh, maybe I don't have a good addition on here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble finding it. Maybe I have it in the Arbans. That's not a solo. Mary Had a Little Lamb, but an octave higher with dotted swing. You got. I did hot cross buns. That's about all I can do today. The chicken, definitely not. All right, here it is. No. Here it actually is. All right. Come on, Vest Man. Do you live get tired? Yeah, I mean, sometimes I really think about more relying on the air, and that kind of helps out a lot of those things. Chill, please. You're so good. Thank you. So here's some Carnival of Venice. We'll see how it goes. It's interesting doing these live streams because I feel like most people wouldn't, most like professionals wouldn't want to do these because if you play enough things, especially things you're not kind of prepared on, you're going to miss a note or something. And people are really protective of their, how they come across and things, which I am too. I don't post bad playing videos, but live streams for some reason I'm okay with, it being however it comes out that day. So there's a touch of it for you guys. Good luck. Do you analyze failed auditions? Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to go back and think about what I did wrong. A lot of times just kind of want to, no one likes losing and it doesn't feel good, especially when you drive across the country for an audition or something. I think that would be the healthy thing to do. I'm not sure that I always can do the healthy thing. I don't record like my professional auditions because most times that's forbidden. And while you could probably still get away with it, I still don't do it. Ave Maria, I could, but I think I'm about done. I've been on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's kind of a long time. So I'm probably going to wrap it up soon. So if you have any questions, let me know. Everything too. Yeah, you guys are ridiculous. Do you know anyone that can take lessons from in East Texas with a similar caliber of? I don't know who Heather Mensch is or anyone like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really know too much about what goes on in East Texas. Play Do Dances. That's a good one. I have worked on that a little bit, but I don't really know it that well. Haitian Fight Song. I played that before in like a big band context. Where I grew up mostly in Kentucky. You have to play euphonium or you're talking about your cult. I just came back from my school's first football game, and it feels good to play in a band. Yeah, it's always good. Fill a tube with barbecue. You guys are ridiculous. I don't hate it though. Maybe one day that can make it into the merch. It's like low brass U on the back. Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage. But I'll go on for a couple more minutes if anybody has any kind of last questions. I think I'm done playing for the evening. You live in Kentucky? That's awesome. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Or for those not from Kentucky, Louisville or Louisville. Yeah, I don't know if you can join. That's not up to me. Thank you. Breadstick Fanatic. It's a good name. What's my favorite instrument? It's hard to say. I like all the low brass instruments, tuba, bass trombone, tenor trombone, alto trombone, euphonium, contrabass trombone, chimbasa. They're all so fun. I like playing all of them. That's kind of what I like to do. Yeah, I did go to YPAS. They're asking what high school I went to, which is YPAS is the Youth Performing Arts School in Louisville, Kentucky. What is your go-to recording? We talked about it before. It's hard to beat that Oystein 20th Century Concerto. What's the highest note in the euphonium inside of it? Don't know. No. The highest note, the highest note is whatever highest note you can play. Most pieces don't go much higher than like a high F at the top of the treble clef staff, but sometimes it goes higher. Very cool. You go to YPAS. That's awesome, Eli. Yeah, that you can, if you're curious, you can find my name on a plaque there. I don't know if you guys are in person or not. I've talked to my parents who live in Kentucky still, but they don't have. I'm the youngest, so they don't have kids in school right now. But yeah, if you go to the Louis Armstrong plaque, my name will be on there. And if you ask your band directors about me, they'll tell you some things. Probably some things that I want to be told, and probably some things I don't want to be told. But let's see. Everyone laughed at the woodwind. It's a lot of getting high notes to sound good. It's a lot of just really diligent practice getting up into the high range, and just kind of making things really easy. I always think about extending my middle range to include my low range and include my high range. Because we think about, low range being hard, high range being hard, but we don't think about mid range being hard. So if we expand our mid range to include everything, nothing's hard, which obviously is, perfect world. But yeah, I really try to just extend what I'm doing, take my sound from the mid range and bring it to the high range, if that makes sense, which takes time. Excuse me. Trying to figure out what brass instrument to learn. Yeah, you got to make that decision for yourself. You'd buy that merch any day. Yeah, they might sound airy for now, but they can get there. Eli, yeah, I definitely ask. You can ask a lot of questions to a lot of people who. Not all the teachers are the same at YPAS, but Mr. Essick and Mr. Gregory definitely know where the skeletons are buried, along with Mr. Crady. I know he was at least there last year. I assume he's still there, but he might be getting close to retiring. But you can definitely ask them about me. We had a different orchestra director at that time, so there's been turnover throughout. But yeah, I spent a lot of time at YPAS. I was there. My mom worked at the University of Louisville, which is across the street, and so a lot of times I'd stay there till like 5 or 6 p.m. when she could pick me up. But yeah, they'll definitely have some stories for you. Again, some bad, hopefully mostly good. But yeah, let's see. Number's too hot. Do I play sports? I like playing sports. I'm not like the world's greatest athlete. I'm 6'6", so basketball is fun for me when I'm playing with normal sized people, because it makes me seem more skilled than I actually am. But I didn't miss out on a career in the NBA. I'll put it that way. How many asked to join? Are you talking about your, what size do you need you to use? I don't know what that's in reference to. Thank you, Low Brass Legend. What is your mouthpiece tip opening? Like what size is the mouthpiece? This is a 3 that I'm playing on euphonium right now, if that's what you're asking. Go dab. See, the moment that I dabbed is the moment that is screen grabbed and then turned into a meme. So I can't do it. That's the rules for joining, or what's the rules for joining? Making woodwind jokes, Low Brass. But yeah, thank you all for being on the stream. It's been nice. I think this was our most attended stream. I think I saw 20 at one point. But yeah, hopefully everyone here, I assume most people are subscribed. If you're here and you're a regular, I would be hard pressed to, I assume that you're subscribed at this point. It's kind of hard to get notified about these otherwise. But if you're not, think about it. And clicking that bell icon, because that helps especially for the live streams. What reed strength and size do you use? I play on 2.5s. But yeah, I just can't dab because you live long enough, you get memed a few times, and it's not always fun to get memed. I remember there was a meme for me in grad school. One of the undergrads made it because on my recital, I didn't have my pages quite right, and it's totally my own fault. But I had to make a quick adjustment, and then with that quick adjustment, my paper fell on the ground, and then I had to pick it up and stop everything. Piano player stops, get it back up. It was pretty embarrassing. But what one of the students did was they took that video because I streamed it, and so they took that section and put I think it's Katy Perry. It's they ask you how you're doing, and you say that you're fine, even though you're not fine, and with a teardrop on my face. So they got me pretty good. So I'm not going to dab. Long story short. But yeah, thanks for everyone for being on here. It's been a lot of fun, and hope to see you on the next one. Also real quick, if let me know if you had any issues with the stream, like it was glitching out. No one complained, so I assumed that wasn't the case. But I think the comments will still go for a little bit, so let me know. No, looks like we were good. It probably was just the storms that came through. All right, thank you, everyone.